Good morning. I'm Cindy Silva, Mayor of the City of Walnut Creek, and on behalf of the City Council, I want to welcome you to Walnut Creek's 2023 Veterans Day observance. Please stand for the presentation of the colors, for the singing of the national anthem, and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. You may be seated. I would like to thank the VFW Post 8063 Color Guard team for your participation today, the Walnut Creek Concert Band under the direction of Harvey Benstein for the playing of today's special music, and Mayor Pro Tem Luella Haskew for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would also like to recognize a number of other dignitaries joining us today. Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, the two county supervisors who represent Walnut Creek, Candace Anderson from District 2 and Ken Carlson from District 4. From the office of U.S. Congressman Mark DeSaulnier, Bob Smith. From the office of State Senator Steve Glazer, Matthew Bohr. From the office of Assemblymember Tim Grayson, Mike Sponsler. And from the City of Walnut Creek, please welcome our City Manager, Dan Buckshire. I also have the pleasure of introducing one of our former Walnut Creek mayors, Kathy Hicks, who is here with us today, along with her husband, Jerry Hicks, who is a former Navy pilot. Most importantly, please join me in recognizing all of the veterans who are here. This observance is about all of you and your service to our country. Would you please rise? Thank you. You may be seated. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Reverend Mark Burnham from Grace Presbyterian Church here in Walnut Creek. Reverend Burnham.
Thank you. Let's join together in prayer, friends. As we gather here on this solemn occasion to honor and to remember the brave women and men who have served our nation with unwavering commitment, we come before you, O God, with hearts full of gratitude and of reverence. We thank you for the selfless sacrifice of our veterans, those who have stood on the front lines to defend the principles we hold dear. May their courage inspire us to uphold the values of freedom, justice, and equality. Bless them for the hardships they have faced, for the sacrifices they made, for the challenges they now endure. May your peace reign in their hearts, and may our community be a source of support and understanding for them. As we reflect on the sacrifices made by our veterans, help us, O God, to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and commitment to honoring their legacy through our actions. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Reverend Burnham, thank you for your words of inspiration this morning and for your service to our community. Originally called Armistice Day, Veterans Day, November 11th, is the day we celebrate and we honor those men and women who have served our nation both in times of war and in times of peace. It is a day we can thank America's veterans for their love of country and for their willingness to serve and to sacrifice for the common good. Veterans Day was established in 1919 by President Woodrow Wilson to memorialize the end of World War I, the Great War, the war that was considered at that time to be the most destructive, sanguinary, and far-reaching war in the annals of human history. World War I had lasted for nearly 5 years, from 1914 to 1918. It had involved 2 continents, and after the loss of some 20 million lives and nearly 40 million total casualties, the fighting was stopped on November 11th, 1918 at 11 a.m., the hour of the official ceasefire in Europe. Thus, the reason we celebrate and commemorate Veterans Day each year on November 11th at 11 a.m. in the morning. I'd now like to welcome retired U.S. Air Force Master Sergeant Virginia Wimmer, who currently serves as the Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans Affairs at the California Department of Veterans Affairs. Secretary Wimmer will present a proclamation from the Office of the Governor.
Good morning. A proclamation. On Veterans Day, we show our enduring respect and reverence for those who have served in the United States military to defend our freedoms and way of life. While we can never repay these brave men and women for their selfless service, our state is proud to pay tribute to veterans in deed as well as in word. The holiday was born of symbolism commemorating the armistice that took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, to end World War I. A year later, America dedicated November 11th as Armistice Day to celebrate that peace and the veterans who fought in the war to end all wars. All too soon, however, new wars followed, leading to Armistice Day becoming Veterans Day in 1954, a holiday to honor veterans of all wars. Today, California is home to roughly 1.6 million veterans spanning all of the state's diverse populations and ingrained in every facet of our society. They are among the employers and employees who drive California's world-class economy. They are elected officials and civil leaders. They work in public safety and are first responders. Other veterans are not so fortunate, struggling to overcome the physical and emotional scars of war and service. They need assistance, and we have no higher duty than to support them. That's why we've worked with the legislature to put a measure on the March 2024 ballot, Proposition 1, which includes $1 billion in funding to those veterans with behavioral health needs. We're also implementing a $50 million California Veterans Initiative to support veterans' mental health and suicide prevention. In 2025, we will dedicate a new 240-bed skilled nursing and memory care facility at the Veterans Home of California, Yountville, one of our 8 homes caring for veterans and their spouses. And we continue to implement efforts that benefit all veterans, including assisting those discharged from military service under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, as they pursue discharge upgrades to reestablish their eligibility for veterans benefits and prioritizing disabled veteran business owners in bidding for state contracts. California is dedicated to serving our veterans as they have served us. Today, as we reflect on that, we owe our veterans. Let us commit to honoring them year-round throughout their lives. In gratitude for the immense commitment and personal sacrifices they have made for our state and nation. Now therefore, I, Gavin Newsom, Governor of the State of California, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2023 as Veterans Day. Mayor, on behalf of the Governor, I present to you the proclamation.
I know you told me to call you Virginia, but I'm going to say thank you, Secretary Wimmer. It has been 105 years since the end of World War I, and no veterans of that war are still living. In fact, the last veteran of World War I died in 2011 at the age of 110. However, our nation still has not only 1.6 million veterans in California, but a total of about 16 million veterans whom we honor on this day, including about 120,000 veterans that are still living who served in World War II. And whether these veterans fought in the trenches of France or in the jungles of Vietnam, whether they spent their days at sea or in the skies, whether they braved the cold winter of Korea or the blistering heat and sands of Iraq, one thing is true. Those who have served have shared an experience, and they have a bond of understanding that is like no other. Nothing in civilian life approximates the daily and hourly hardships of those who serve in the military. And nothing in civilian life builds a sense of loyalty, reliance, or commitment than service in the military. Soldier, sailor, aviator, or Marine, those who have served know what it means to rely on a friend. They know how to look out for someone else because that other person, that buddy who is next to them, is no doubt the one person they can and must rely on to look out for themselves. They know that they fight not just for country or for cause, but just as significantly, they fight for those who stand beside them and who will protect them from harm. They know that standing together is one of the highest forms of selfless courage. And they know that their commitment to one another is what leads to great acts of heroism. For those who have not served, this sense of commitment and loyalty may be difficult to understand. However, our speaker this morning may be able to offer some insights both about the time that she served in the military as well as those years since service in the military. A California native, Elena Kim served in the United States Army from 2005 through 2010 as a human intelligence collector. After serving with honor, Ms. Kim used her GI Bill benefits to earn a bachelor's degree in international affairs and a master's degree in legislative affairs at George Washington University, after which she joined the Office of Governmental Affairs for the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Currently, Ms. Kim serves as the director of the Veterans Service Office in San Francisco. She is also the co-host here in Contra Costa of Veterans Voices, our local monthly television show dedicated to our vets. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Elena Kim.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, today I was asked to come to share my experiences not only as a veteran, but as a woman who served. I served in the United States Army, as the mayor said, in human intelligence. I was a human intelligence specialist, which is the Army's fancy term for an interrogator. I deployed overseas to Iraq from 2006 to 2007, about 14 months, and I used to say that my one deployment was longer than a Marine Corps veteran's 3 deployments. That is, until one day a Marine veteran stood up and yelled, "That's because the Marine Corps does everything in a third the time that the Army does." So I don't share that story too much anymore. But as a woman who served, I do have a complex relationship with my service. And I journey to think that that fact rings true regardless of your gender. Service in the United States military is complex. I hope to break down some of that complexity today so that we can better understand and appreciate why we're all sitting together here to honor and to understand what exactly it means to honor. And as I thought about how to do this morning, I thought I could share my experience as a woman. Like the time that I was in boot camp and a young man leaned over to me and sneered, "This is a man's army, not a woman's." As an 18-year-old girl from California, I was so shocked that I didn't have a retort for him. Years later, I just laugh thinking about how at the time that he said that, we had both been in the service for the exact same number of days. I didn't think anybody had established ownership over it yet. We were so fresh that you couldn't even call us boots, which is the Marine Corps term for someone fresh out of boot camp. We were wet dirt underneath the boot. We were nothing, but the military would make us into something, and I can only hope that the military made that young man into someone more open. Because the fact is that women have been in the business of defending this nation since before we were this nation. I could share with you how, as a woman, you're pretty much treated like a smaller man as far as equipment is concerned in the military. Thank God for the M4 with the collapsible buttstock, but when it came to everything else, there was no she version. There was only a smaller he version. Smaller pants, smaller shirts, smaller jackets, which also meant smaller body armor, all crafted for a body that was unlike my own. But the one thing that I always had in my size was a large Kevlar helmet. because I always had a big head. I thought my big head was great until I started having kids, and they have big heads, and then it wasn't funny anymore. And the Army was kind enough to make one accommodation for the comfort of women. That is, while in our dress uniforms, they allowed us to wear, within regulation, of course, heels. Yes, that one invention known to all women for its reputation of comfort. Thank you. Focusing on my time in the military, I could tell you about how I would dehydrate myself and not drink enough water when in the field, so as to not slow down my unit for having to take too many or too long of a bathroom break. I could tell you about the time where we were loaded into 6 bus loads of soldiers, driving through the Kuwaiti desert for hour-long journeys when we were told, stay hydrated so you don't pass out from the heat, while also being given collectively 1 5-minute bathroom stop for everyone on the buses with 2 porta-johns. Before we could get past the line, we were told, get back on the bus. And so in the back of the bus, 2 ladies held up their jackets while the rest of us took turns peeing into plastic bags that we secured and placed by the doors to dispose of later. Of my experiences as a woman in service, I could talk to you about sexual harassment, I could talk to you about sexual assault, I could talk to you about the lack of equal health care, which still exists today when we get out. There's a gap in awarding benefits to women veterans and a gap of community for women veterans. But anyone who has served will tell you that the military doesn't always accommodate for our differences. So that left us to do the bending. And you better believe that women veterans are flexible. You better believe that we're accommodating and that we earned our titles, and then some. Please keep in mind that these stories are in addition to the day-to-day challenges of battle, because in Iraq and in Afghanistan, while women were not given the same training opportunities, the enemy knew not this. While we were told that women were behind the front lines, we would find ourselves in a war that very much lacked a front line. We learned the definition of asymmetric warfare. Most importantly, we learned that the enemy did not care whether or not your official bullet was infantryman, cook, nurse. If you were in the wrong vehicle at the wrong time, your skin would burn, the same as anyone when hit with an improvised explosive device. And make no mistake, as in all wars preceding, and maybe forever to come, women gave and will continue to give their lives for this nation, just as the bravest of our men do. But we're here on Veterans Day, a day not only to pay respect to those who have served, but really to honor those who are alive. You, here with us today. And going back to the question of how do we do that? There are those here who have not served, and they may feel challenged for whatever reason, whether it be shyness or just respectfully not wanting to bother, or whatever reason, they might not get their chance to speak their mind to you today. And so on their behalf, I wanted to share with you a sentiment from a young woman in my office who I just hired, never served a day in her life, but she's now serving veterans and dedicating her life to helping. She says, "Dear veterans, we see you. We recognize your humanity, and we send you love that is gentle and patient and healing. With blessings and gratitude, we ask that you remember you are loved. Those of us who never served will never fully understand the sacrifices that you've made, both in times of peace and war. We'll never understand what you were required to do or how you were able to do it, and we'll never fully understand the depth of your scars. You see, being a veteran seems like something so foreign to the average citizen because only 1% of our citizens do serve. And so we're here today to ask ourselves, how do we honor them? How can I relate to them and this experience? Well, that's why I'm here. I want to help you understand that your neighbor is just like you. And in a world where news stories and governments seek to highlight our differences, I want to draw your attention to two remarkable journeys that on the surface may seem like worlds apart: military service and motherhood. Oh, you think I'm joking? Name two other groups of people who would go through grueling pain, sleep deprivation, and willingly put their bodies in harm's way for others, and after they tell you how hard it is, and you ask them, would you do it again? They say, with a twinkle of insanity in their eyes, yes, in a heartbeat. While the experiences may differ in the specifics, the underlying struggles, the transformations, and the triumphs resonate in ways that deserve our recognition. Pregnancy, a process often described as beautiful, is a journey that involves a metamorphosis akin to battle. A transition from a serene human being to a force of nature, grappling with pain and mood swings and all the self-sacrifices that come with creating a life. And yet, the narrative doesn't end there. It extends into the realm of postpartum, a period where a mother finds herself nursing a life that was once inside of her and is now both outside and yet still deeply intertwined in her being. Does this emotional roller coaster sound familiar? It might, not just to mothers, but to veterans as well. Consider this. Both mothers and service members start as inexperienced human beings. They undergo intense growth and change. They go through experience that society may appreciate and even honor on special days, but they might not always be fully accommodated. They're hailed as strong, yet they find themselves in moments of vulnerability, where as human beings we experience a loss of dignity. They are brave. Think of the mama grizzly bear and the grizzly marine. Yet sometimes they need our help. And it is hard to ask for help, no matter who you are. In the end, both may feel like they've lost themselves. But in that loss, marked by scars and pain, if they are fortunate, they can discover a new identity. One that might not always align with the pretty of our youth, but is as beautiful as the night sky is black. We're here to ask ourselves, how do we honor these veterans on Veterans Day? And I would say this: on Mother's Day, we don't just honor an individual. We're honoring a collection of experiences that have contributed countless lessons and blessings to our society. We are honoring people who, as a society, we could not be here without. And in the same way, here on Veterans Day, when we say that we honor the service, we're not just merely recognizing a specific act, we're acknowledging the profound transformation that occurs. Just as motherhood is not merely about labor and delivery, it's about the entire process. What we celebrate today on Veterans Day is the capability of a human being to transform, to lose themselves, to struggle, to experience pain and loss and despair, and ultimately to come back from it. Veterans, you embody the spirit of a comeback. We honor not just your service, but your very existence, representing the resilience of the human spirit. Soldier, airman, seaman, marine, postie, guardian, These titles that we carry around, they signify more than just roles. They represent a profound journey of sacrificing oneself for a greater purpose and coming back to tell the story. So, as we gather here to honor you on Veterans Day, we extend our gratitude not only for the service, but for your very being. We recognize that not everyone makes it back, not just from the wars abroad, but from the internal war and struggle of being human. Being a veteran is not just about the service, it's about the struggle. It's about the fact that it may be hard for you to be here with us today, but yet you are here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for choosing to stay with us. We celebrate and honor you as living proof of the strength that resides within the great American spirit. Thank you.
I'm so moved, and thank you so much for agreeing to be our keynote today, and for your thoughts and insights and the relationship between those who serve and those who serve in so many different ways. And for reminding us of the importance of remembering our veterans, not only on Veterans Day, but every day of the year, and not only remembering our mothers. I'm also reminded that the military's work can have long-lasting, positive impacts on people around the world. And whether our veterans were there to fight unwanted aggression or to help with recovery after a natural disaster, their work is long remembered. Recently, I was honored to represent Walnut Creek as part of a California delegation that was visiting China. During the visit, we attended the 80th anniversary commemoration for the Flying Tigers, the U.S. military command that flew combat and supply missions in China during World War II. Their work was instrumental in freeing China from a brutal military occupation. The Chinese people honored the pilots, the airmen, and the support crews with the nickname Flying Tiger, a timeless accolade from Chinese mythology that recognizes the ferocious courage, invincibility, and ultimate immortality of a tiger that can fly. Now, in today's modern China, 80 decades after the horrific battles of World War II, the legacy of the Flying Tiger is still widely understood by the Chinese. The Flying Tiger is a deeply appreciated symbol of cooperation between the people of China and the people of the United States. The 80th anniversary celebration was held October 30th in Beijing, both at China's Memorial Museum to the War of Oppression and at the U.S. Embassy. And the stars of the celebration were two Flying Tiger veterans, both of whom live in California. P-40 fighter pilot Harry Moyer, who is 103 years old, and bomber gunner Mel McMullen, who is a mere 98 years old. Their reason for making the trip was very clear to those two individuals. They wanted to remind both Americans and Chinese that we need to remember this powerful chapter in our two countries' shared history, a chapter of extraordinary compassion and sacrifice, because it underscores the importance of people-to-people ties, especially today when the U.S. and China must work hard to stabilize relations. As the U.S. ambassador said that day, these two veterans represent one of the high points in the relationship between the U.S. and China. From my perspective, and from my honor for being able to participate in a day-long celebration, I think Captain Moyer and Sergeant McMullen are two of the tens of thousands of reasons that we celebrate and remember our veterans each year. Thank you. As we bring today's ceremony to conclusion, the Walnut Creek Concert Band will help us thank all of our veterans. We invite you to stand, clap, and sing along as the band salutes each of the branches of the armed forces. Reverend Burnham, would you honor us with a closing message?
Before I do that, I think we need to have another round of applause for our band today. Thank you. I also want to thank Elena Kim for her profound and moving words today. Thank you very much. And thank you all for gathering. We're going to take just a few moments of silent reflection time, and then I'm going to take this closing remarks very short and sweet, and we will finish the program. But let's take a moment of silence if we can. Oh Lord, we are thankful for this opportunity to gather today, to give thanks for those who have served so honorably. In response, let us go forth into the world in peace and dedicated to your service, inspired by the lives we have honored and remembered here today. May we follow their example by committing ourselves wholly to the service of others, to neighbors, to our community, to our nation, and to our world. May we be empowered this day to transcend every barrier and every boundary that divides us one from another. Help us to see the humanity in each and every person. And as we go this day inspired, may God's blessing be upon all of us, upon our veterans, upon their families, upon this community, and may it remain there with us always. And in your name we pray. Amen.
In closing, I would like to thank Elena Kim for your incredible keynote remarks. Thank you so much. For Deputy Wimmer, for being here today and presenting the proclamation from the Office of the Governor. Reverend Burnham, for both your invocation and closing messages. The Walnut Creek Concert Band and our guest director, Harvey Bensey. It's good to have you back. And I want to thank the Color Guard team of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 8063 for their participation and presentation of colors. Also, I want to thank for organizing today's event our city communications team and the staff and volunteer ushers of the Lesher Center for the Arts. Finally, I want to thank all of you for being here today and to being able to help us honor those who have served us in the military. Thank you for being here. And now the concert band will close this event with Alton Adams, the Governor's Own. And we can either sit together and listen, or we can also mingle a bit while they're playing. So thank you all very much for being here. And I'm going to give a shameless plug for the band. Their winter concert is Tuesday evening, November 28th, and tickets are available at the ticket office.